Well, a direct receiver does not have the appearance of parts and part possessors. So there is not such a close appearance to that eye consciousness of a part of something and the part of possessor. So there's no sense of a real difference between the two. If, on the other hand, there were to be an appearance of true existence, then there would also be a sense of the truly kind of separate kind of part possessor and separate parts. So then to that direct receiver, it would be like the part possessor is the kind of greater pervader in the sense that it's kind of the parts are included in that part possessor. So that kind of sense that one is included in the other. So this coarse appearance, that appearance of coarse part possessor and part, if there's the appearance of true existence, to that awareness there would be a sense of a part possessor over there and parts that belong to that. And that would be mistaken, and there would also be the appearance of something being a part of the part possessor. So like something being such and such. That appearance would take place from the perspective of the eye consciousness because of that rough, of course, sense of this is the part possessor, this is the part, this part is or being a part of that part possessor. If that takes place, then there's a mistaken appearance because that is similar to a conceptual consciousness. Conceptual consciousnesses have that kind of rough, of course, appearance in the sense of something being such and such. So, therefore, to the eye consciousness, such a coarse difference between part possessor and parts does not appear, but if it appeared truly, if there was an appearance of true existence, like the vast existed truly, then there would also be that sense of a part and part possessor being separate, one being the part of the other, and so forth. So right away, a mistaken appearance would be there, so would exist for that eye consciousness, which is not accepted. So this explanation is according to Kensho Grimmergansen, it's kind of like the happy or delightful text.
Tapage dentro goyne chile yomarwada sunabati kichetiye bebache and one she kwarangi pa dentro pa juegi niwe yomaris kirbe atendiji
Pulitanga ge
So that translate this. So actually, there's this kind of assertion where it says the non-appearing does not appear. So he uses the sentimentality. So if the non-appearing does not appear. So what does that actually mean? So there's this discussion between the two of them, and actually only after Geshe repeated it again, it became clear what this teacher was saying. So Geshe was saying, so you were saying that if the eye consciousness or the sense consciousness just don't have the ability or the capacity for phenomena to appear truly. So from the side of the object, of course, they don't actually throw an aspect of true existence towards the awareness. And so the mind itself doesn't have the capability, doesn't have the capacity for that to appear. Is that what you're saying? So the non-appearance does not appear. So kind of thinking about it along those lines.
도메가 응했어서 미국번 하지 차리네 지송과 도바데미 장보시지 생각하세 근데 도바를 가야 되는 내에서 내가 장보야 있다 무시 때문에 미국번 하지 진짜고 내가 저것도 나도 맞아야지 뒷 대시지 뭐이제 말을 처음 들지
So this schema is saying according to
어시 미국만의 시레스 재선당 두고 말했어. 또번디 장보를 재선당 두고 그랬어.
So according to Gema Sodetsu, the late director from the IBD, according to his book on awareness and knowledge, so in this book he describes sense consciousnesses as stupid and conceptual consciousnesses as kind of clever. He's kind of saying the sense consciousnesses are kind of silly or stupid or kind of slow or not that clever, whereas the conceptual consciousnesses are. So therefore this Gema is saying that this is his understanding of therefore why true existence cannot appear to her.
장보디 투 구보디 맞춰보죠.
The stupid one is not mistaken. The clever one is mistaken.
간지 디칼에 가보지 디칼에서는 안지빌루를 템퍼처버스에 텐디지를 시기레스에 세부지 무슨 나투가 말아. 디칼은 라마투디 전에 안에 코카리라 나마나 같이 맞이 신다 상마 세부명이 자루로다.
So the problem we're really facing here, why we cannot really say we're going to give a reason for why the object of negation does not appear to the sense consciousness. Well, the reason for that is that we don't really know what this Svatantra principle means with this object of negation. When they say phenomena existing truly, with phenomena existing truly, they don't really know what that means, or we don't really know what they actually refer to, what that really refers to. And not knowing that, not being able to really point at what the exact sense of true existence is, it's difficult to establish why to a direct perceiver or to a sense consciousness true existence does not occur.
아니 단다 경기 손에디 키시케주 난그 말했을 때 디티고 차샤 이네 된중나나 키시케주난 그거디 감지스요.
So the explanation the first Gema gave with respect to to an eye consciousness, you don't have the appearance of the basis of the characteristic and the appearance of the characteristic. That is okay, that is acceptable. But why, when true existence appears, do you need to have the appearance of the basis of the characteristic and the characteristic itself? Why do you need part and part possessors? Why do they need to appear in such a way when phenomena appear true?
但是我们接着要问的是说，为什么要显现出第十层就必须要显现出差别式跟差别法呢？
他这个年度拿出来呢，刚才也确决了，确定那些的那么忙着去下不了，年度拿出来，我们得不得年度拿出来，我们打谁去下些交了，下些的那么忙着去拿的。 근데 나봐 만져나 수대 미시다 이거 말이지. 다음에 보세게 기술.
So here the reason for that is that when you have the appearance of true existence within eye consciousness, whatever appears to that eye consciousness has to appear as true. So the basis of imputation, the actual object that is imputed, all those have to appear as truly. So if you have the vase, for example, its parts appear as truly existing. The vase itself exists as truly existing. And that kind of appearance, there's right away this difference between the part and the part possessing. So the part exists as truly and the part means exists as truly. So there's that different kind of separate appearance that suddenly appears to the mind. So those appear as separate, as different, since they all appear as truly existing. So this is what we explained in the text, so the kind of enjoyment of clarifying the mind, filling out the text.
나봐 먼저 진짜 손아니 군이 나봐 먼저 차도. 근데 다시 다 주니 나봐 먼저 차도. 나봐 먼저 세대 못하디 차도 도스. 못하디 세대 동송다 되네. 동네 싶었다. 동송으로 왔다. 동송다 되대. 동송 나한테 소소네 비차는 거네. 못하디 샤고라니 못하디 차도 도스.
So here when we say they appear as separate therefore as truly
나봐 미다와 차스네디. 나봐 미다와 차나 못하디도 차고 그랬어. 무슨 뭘 차시다 차지 못하디 기지 요마로. 샤시 통수 다가랑도 차진 통수 저러라.
So if they appear as like separate, as like truly existent, so then they appear as truly this part and part possessors appear as separate. And if they appear as separate, then the part and part possessor appear as being of a different nature, as being of a different nature. So this is only what appears to our conceptual consciousness. This appearance of being truly existent, being of a different nature, does not appear to an eye consciousness. Why? Because phenomena such as the part and part possessor, so by way of the part possessor appearing, the appearance of the parts is exhausted in that appearance. They do not appear as separate.
차시리 뭐 타데도 능치디다 데버트바 능치디 지바 레루도 도스티시잖아. 안디 지바 이나 차시리 뭐 타데도 짐바디 데버트바 짐바 차루로. 디차나 차시리 뭐 타데도 메고 또는디 데메 또잖아야 데메들하고 싶어 차루로.
So if you say that this appearance of, to that eye consciousness, the appearance of part and part possessor being of a different entity, if that's the appearance of true existence, well then that means they're both an awareness that appear as true, it's like when you perceive that to an eye consciousness, part and part possessor being of a different entity, that becomes the subtle object of negation, that becomes the subtle object of negation. So when you negate that with respect to the eye consciousness, the part and part possessors are not different substantial entities or different entities. When you negate that, you have to realize the lack of true existence. You have to realize emptiness. And there's a difference in coarseness and subtlety. So when you negate one, you don't necessarily negate the other.
제가 카투 보나 드라나 차수데 nembu 차수데 레고에서 말해. 안 파테는 나타고 내도 나서나 파테는 나트레치 나고레스. 배나 가서네 nemba메테 nem바투바치데 nem바투마 카루도 마주비에시스로도. 근데 nem바투나 아니 nem바투바치다 nem바투마 카루도 토고레스. 들라운디 nem바투바치다 nem바투마 카루 마주바 토타 드라나 nem바 마주바 토타 드라리. 얘네야 그 nem바투나 티니 카루도 토고에엔자 아니디 티간 동고 근데 인사 근데 진단다 데마투바치데 데마투바 따두 그리바 따라라 카투 게 오세가 인터라소나 안다디 그래서 자 안에 내부 하소나는데 가서 단다디 나는 따두 리바 카투 막 해나네 데마투바치다 도마 카루도 두고 말때 투소나네 안에 가서 데메테 찬두고 되는 미시나 자체라게 나바치 찬두고 티카투 따라라 카투
단 데버트나 안치도 도마 카루도 두고 거래 티카티기도 다 데모트가 나나 아니 뭐 타리도 난 고해디 거래이나
다디 아니 콜라 데모트가 나사소나네 디 데메 단시지 나로 고고레스
난 고해 거래이나 무슨 뜻도 데모트가 나나 데모트 취디 뭐 타리도 취디 말레스 이네 데모트가 나나 뭐 타리도 난 고고레스 그래서 데버트로나는 진면도 난고를 셔시다 어디서
So the response by the Gemara is saying that, well, it's only kind of the absurdity, what follows from that if there's truth, if phenomena exist truly, well then, if phenomena were to exist truly, then the way it appears to such an eye consciousness, if it were to appear hypothetically, then they would have to be of a different entity. The part and the part possessors would have to be of a different entity. So the vast and the part would have to be of a different entity. That is the absurdity that follows from that. But it doesn't mean that once you realize the emptiness of one, you realize the emptiness of the other. It's not that this becomes the subtle object of negation here, that part and part possessor being of a different nature, that this becomes the object of negation of emptiness. In the same way, the Gemara is saying that when we say, for example, if something exists truly, it exists as truly existing one and truly existing different. But nonetheless, we cite that as a reason that establishes emptiness. So, for example, the sprout doesn't exist truly because it's not truly existing one or truly existing different. If you realize that the sprout is not truly existing one or truly existing different, you don't necessarily realize that the sprout doesn't exist, lacks true existence. It's just a reason you cite. And independent of understanding that, then slowly you realize emptiness. So what it's saying is that if hypothetically something were to exist truly, then that would follow. So in that same way, and this is what again I'm saying that in this text by so he's actually giving that as this reason exactly here, saying in the same way as something existing truly, something existing different, in the same way you can give that as a reason here, independent on which you can understand the lack of true existence. But it's not saying that when you realize the lack of true existence, you also realize that particular object of part and part possessor not being of a different entity. Then Geshe-la said, well, why are you saying that? Why are you saying that when true existence appears to an eye consciousness, so if it were to appear to an eye consciousness, that it appears as of a different nature? Why are you saying that it necessarily follows that they appear as unrelated, that the part and the part possessor appears unrelated? So you're saying I need to really insist a little bit here. And so the response was saying, well, then there's this, if they're truly existent, they exist as a truly existing phenomenon, then there's this kind of separation between them. There's a true difference between them, and so therefore they appear as truly separate, or they appear as different or unrelated. Jensen said that Lama Tsongkhapa, with regard to Lama Tsongkhapa here, there's only a few occasions in which Lama Tsongkhapa says, well, this should be examined, where he doesn't really give a decisive kind of answer. But then there are some scholars who will say, examine this, they just continue on saying, well, he should examine this, he should examine this. So this is different to Lama Tsongkhapa, so only on a very few occasions he essentially says it. When someone asks why does the sense consciousness, why does true existence not appear to the sense consciousness? Well, then you can just respond by saying, oh, it's difficult. And then the next person will say, it's difficult, it's difficult, it's difficult. So you just go on saying, oh, it's difficult.
lögi shabi nichul chi song song gu da ran ju lu da chida chena nichu nang chu ni che mi da ba re ma re chiru tin du yo re yo ma re sina nang chul gi ki je che de bar yu me che na nichul gi je de cha ru da ti le yo des to da di ji di ani de bar tu ba lu chu na nichul lu chu ru ni chi da nichul lu chu la na ani kang yi chi te mu che ma sha ma tu ye chi chena chi che na da de lu chu ba de la che ma shi di sha tu wa ma ro 강에 대체되고 거로 딜러도 다시 진지지기 왕기 다 진지지다 법보지 마샤로 샤 인식으로 안주를 빽빽 걸어 대니 타 쾌지 타르케 외교 타르케도나 아니 안주를 제마차로로도 진지기 강에 제와 인식으로.
So here, with respect to appearance of true existence, appearing as true existence, as a phenomenon, appearing as being truly existent, so then there's a difference in terms of this relates to the mode of existence of the object. So we talk about the mode of appearance of an object and the mode of existence of an object. So in the Svatantrika school, they do say that phenomena are posited by awareness. They do say that a phenomenon is posited independence on our awareness. But usually when you talk about the impermanence or whether phenomena exist externally or not, that relates to the way phenomena appear. So the way phenomena appear, you investigate that when you investigate impermanence or external phenomena, or external whether phenomena exist externally or not. This relates to how the vast, for example, or the phenomenon appears. Whereas when you say the phenomenon of the vast, for example, so does it exist truly or not, here looking at the mode of existence of the object, you're actually looking at the object, so it doesn't just relate to how the object appears, but it relates, you go to the actual object, you focus onto the object, its mode of existence, and in saying that you realize the object, you're valid, there's a valid cognition with regard to the object, and you're mistaken, they're unable to say that, they're unable to posit both. So if they were able to continue on and continuously so they leave it at just that, so in actuality they just leave it at that, they say you cannot realize it because you're mistaken with regard to that. So if they were to continue on with their reasoning, they would actually have to posit this, they would have to go to the extent, or would have to take it to the extent that can be realized and what is mistaken with regard to it both.
Taki laegi nye la tanjuwe kiji chunanzam laegi kisi tawda regi duna rwa chunanzam sita chubde rwa dini ma ta milam na xin res di koha di tawda regi duna ane samtaya tis le lawa yusari chitabi negaus ta dana ma milam ta xin ma yis tongro ta kari tongne kari chene ta milam na milam washingi dini dwa peki milam che ya milam kora na lo la ta nga milam res washingi dini yongdegi dwa khashila di sorubuchi ta milam na milam washibusu ta tana wala milam tashi ma yin si tena tene la usarwa.
So saying that, so I've been given that explanation before, so if one gets some kind of understanding of the way it's being explained here in the Vika, how phenomena exist merely because of appearance and mistaken awareness, so if one gets an understanding of that, that is helpful because then in the subsequent period, after having realized that it has directly, a person can then get a good understanding that when they arise from that direct perception and they enter the subsequent period, that phenomena are just like a dream. So one is aware that whatever appears is just like the experience of a dream. So this is similar to someone who is able to know that they're dreaming. So when you have a lucid kind of dream, that you know you're dreaming. Within the dream, you know you're actually dreaming. So that would be a similar situation here, where you know that you're actually, that this is actually just like a dream, that the things that appear to you are just like in a dream. So that kind of sense one is able to generate by understanding that phenomena exist only because they appear to us.
Sarjini ji milam tang ke jerta ta di milam ina ngone in to basa ne sendo ja de milam in sara do de chi.
So actually one, if it happens to you a couple of times, 2 or 3 times, if it happens to you that you're not sure you're dreaming or not, you should pinch yourself. But then actually that's also in the dream. So how effective is that? You pinch yourself in the dream.
都你到这个我学过这个解决这个结完了，老年老人过来。